He went from murder suspect to suspected serial killer. Harold Haulman's violent history is now back in the spotlight. Could he be linked to another disappearance? Here's the latest on DBL's True Crime Chronicles.
Harold Haulman, known to many as Dave, is a 43-year-old with a lengthy criminal past. In June 2018, that's when 25-year-old Tiana Phillips disappeared in Berwick, Pennsylvania. She told friends her boyfriend Harold was supposed to pick her up that night. Tiana was never seen again, and her case went cold. Fast forward to December 2020. Erica Schultz vanishes. The 26-year-old was autistic and had the mental capacity of a 13-year-old. After being reported missing, police tracked her cell phone records and found multiple calls and texts between Harold and her. Once caught, he confessed to beating and killing Erica in the woods. While awaiting trial for the murder of Erica Schultz, police linked and charged Harold to Tiana Phillips' case from 2018, in big part thanks to Harold's wife, who confessed she knew her husband killed Tiana. While recording his confession to those two crimes, Harold mentioned the name Ashley Parlier, a 21-year-old woman from Michigan.
The case ended up going cold, and she was never located or heard from.
Ashley disappeared back in 2005 after getting into an argument with family.
She didn't want to admit that she was pregnant, so she got angry and walked off.
Harold had met his other two victims through online dating. But how did he know Ashley?
My parents didn't have a computer in 2005. She could have been online, but it wasn't at our home.
The girls had similar characteristics. Like Erica, Ashley also had autism.
If you were nice to her, she just assumed you were a nice person. She just didn't really get that there could be evil.
Could Harold be tied to Ashley's disappearance?
I want any of his victims to come to light because I don't want any other family to go through what we went through for 16 years.
And could there be more victims?
And earlier, Jeff and Lindsay spoke with a reporter who's working on this case. Take a look.
We are here with reporter Marshall Keeley from WNEP in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Thank you, Marshall, so much for being here.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
Now let's dive right into the background of Harold Haulman. Who is he? And it's kind of crazy. What type of person does it take to commit these crimes?
Yeah, well, Harold Haulman was a long-haul trucker in Duncannon, Pennsylvania, which is just north of Harrisburg, the state capital. He had gotten into relationships online through some online dating platforms with two women who he was ultimately charged with their murders. He took them into the woods, followed them, and hit them over the head with a hammer in one case, slashed their throats, left their bodies there. It's tough to say what kind of person could potentially do this.
Now, Harold was already accused of 2 murders, and now he's facing new murder charges in connection with the 2018 disappearance of Tiana Phillips. How did the police connect this all back to him?
When police dug more into this, they questioned him further and then questioned his wife at the time, who then led them to this note that she had written, or that he had written to her, basically describing the way in which he had killed Tiana Phillips in 2018. His wife then visited that murder site with Harold Haulman and actually was there when he went into the woods and recovered some of the remains of Tiana Phillips and took them in a trash bag and then tossed them in a dumpster behind a movie theater on the way home. Once they had the wife and once they questioned her and got this note basically confessing to this murder, they knew they had their man.
Wow, so as crazy as this story is, Marshall, a lot of people are now saying Harold could be an international serial killer, and police are looking into other cases. Do you think he could be connected to even more?
He's also been connected to an individual back in the late 90s. He was actually convicted of manslaughter in Germany, the manslaughter of a U.S. colonel's son when he was over there. There's another case in Battle Creek, Michigan from 2005 a woman named Ashley Marie Parlier. She went missing back in 2005 from her home, was never seen again. After Haulman mentioned Parlier's name during questioning with Pennsylvania police, they got in contact with Battle Creek, Michigan officers who then triangulated a search area and have been looking for several times, have now looked for the remains of Ashley Marie Parlier, where Haulman said she may be. So this is, by all means, this story is not over. There could be many more people, but as I said, he is now at least linked to 4 deaths.
Thank you so much, Marshall. And to learn more about this case, please visit WNEP.com. This story is also the subject of a new podcast episode. Just search True Crime Chronicles on your favorite podcast player. Again, thank you so much, Marshall.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.